Rafa, I'm not a host.
Hi everyone, today we have a very special Global Virtual Morning Report. Today we will be interviewing Dr. Mahesh, but before that, I would love if Laura, Dani, and Katarina could talk a little bit about their project they're been developing the past few months, and it's very special. Please go ahead, Laura.
Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good night. I'm Laura. I'm a fourth-year medical student from Brazil. And Dani, can you share your screen, please? So I'm a CPSolvers team member, but more specifically, I'm part of this beautiful Portuguese speakers team in CPSolvers. And today we have some big news for you guys about our effort to make medical education even more accessible around the world. So I want to ask my incredibly talented and hardworking friends, Daniela and Katarina, to introduce themselves so that we can share with you guys our amazing project. Katarina, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Catarina Costa. I'm a fourth-year internal medicine resident from Portugal. I've been participating in this amazing project with Laura and Daniela. And it's been really special working with them and the rest of the CPSolvers to bring medical education even further and in our native language that is so beautiful. So I hope you enjoy what we have done and feel excited to join us in this project if you can.
And Dani, please.
Oh my God, I'm so emotional now. Hi everyone, my name is Daniela Cao. I'm a CPSolvers member, and I'm just so happy to be able to share with everyone this amazing project that we have been working in the background very secretly for the past few months. And I think this is a way of making medical education accessible, but also opening many doors to have other people inspire themselves on us, like we inspired ourselves in the Spanish team in CPSolvers. And I'm sure that Laura has many other beautiful words to be said, so I'll pass the mic to her.
Thank you. So the news is that from now on, we have an official page on the website with the brilliant content that you already know, but translated to Portuguese. And it's really amazing, and we put our whole hearts in it. So we really hope it is useful for you. And Daniel or Katarina, could you please put the link in the chat so that everyone can check it out? And I really want to thank Maria and Chiara and Rafa for guiding us through the process, and also the whole team and Robbie and everyone for being not only a team, but a loving, supportive, inspiring family. And the last thing that I want to say is that if you are interested in being a volunteer and translating a schema or in a script or anything, or just want to talk to us, feel free to contact us through the email available on the page. And now I'm going to say everything again, but in Portuguese, if that's okay for you guys, because I think it makes sense, right? So, yeah. Oi, gente. Meu nome é Laura, eu sou estudante de medicina do 4º ano da Universidade Federal de São João del Rei, e eu faço parte do time do CPSolvers, mais especificamente da parte do time que fala português. E hoje a gente tem uma notícia muito feliz, que é tem a ver com o nosso objetivo de levar a educação médica gratuita de uma forma cada vez mais acessível para o mundo. Então, eu quero apresentar minhas amigas talentosas e brilhantes de novo, rapidamente. Daniela e Catarina, que embarcaram nessa jornada comigo, e para elas se apresentarem, para a gente dividir o projeto com vocês. Então, Dani, pode falar primeiro dessa vez, por favor.
Eu vou chorar. Oi, gente, tudo bem? Meu nome é Daniela Cava, agora em português, né? Eu sou estudante de medicina na Universidade do Estado do Pará. E eu acho que desde o início eu e a Laura tivemos uma conexão muito grande e uma sincronia para começar esse projeto. E depois a Catarina também entrou ajudando muito, muito assim, em níveis que não tem como descrever. Então, a gente está muito, muito feliz de poder compartilhar esse projeto que a gente está trabalhando há um tempo já. E espero que vocês gostem, que vocês consigam aprender mais com todo esse trabalho, toda essa dedicação que a gente tem para esse projeto. E eu também espero que, se vocês tiverem um tempo e a disponibilidade, vocês também ajudem nessa missão muito grande, que é traduzir os esquemas e traduzir esse conhecimento que o CPSolvers traz diariamente, né, em várias plataformas diferentes. E a gente está querendo fazer com que isso seja algo gigante, que também tenha a possibilidade de gerar outras oportunidades, assim como no CPSolvers já tinha um time espanhol, agora nós temos o time português, que está sendo incrível. E eu queria, assim, fazer uma menção honrosa ao Rafa, porque ele começou isso antes de todo mundo, pelo que eu percebi, e tem alguns conteúdos por ele também. Apesar de a gente ser o time que fez a página, ele também foi muito importante. E também a Gabriela Pucci, que também fez alguns vídeos incríveis. Então, por favor, vão lá. E, para não me estender muito, vou passar para a Catarina.
Pronto, só para terminar, o meu sotaque não é tão melodioso como o das meninas do Brasil. Meu nome é Catarina, sou residente do 4º ano de Medicina Interna do Centro Hospitalar Universitário do Porto, em Portugal, e juntei-me a esta equipa incrível para trazermos a educação médica dos CPSolvers também a Portugal e ao Brasil e a todos os territórios que falam português, que é muito importante. Este projeto e o acesso a estes conteúdos mudou muito a minha vida e a forma como eu penso na medicina, e quero é que mais pessoas tenham acesso a isso também, porque apesar de tudo o inglês ainda é uma barreira linguística importante. Portanto, nós só queremos chegar mais longe e chegar a mais pessoas e esta família ser ainda maior. Pronto, e o resto faço só o eco do que a Laura e a Daniela já disseram. Espero que gostem.
Então é isso, gente. Sintam-se livres para entrar no site, para conhecer tudo, fuçar bastante. E quem quiser fazer conteúdo, entre em contato com a gente pelo Twitter também, por onde vocês quiserem. E Rafa, you may go on now. Thank you so much, everyone.
I just want to say that I'm so proud of these girls. Like, they've been really, really hardworking and putting this together. It's not easy. There's so much work going on. And I just want to say that I'm really, really proud of you all. Really. Thank you for all your hard work. And now I'm going to pass the mic to Val, because she's going to be helping me interview Dr. Mahesh. Could you please introduce yourself, Val?
Yeah, thank you, Rafa. So I'm Vale, I'm a medical student from Peru, and today I have the honor to make some questions and interview Dr. Mahesh. And so I don't know, Rafa, if maybe Laura has already introduced herself. You want to give a little bio before we start the questions?
Yeah, before beginning, I just want to ask Rabbi to introduce himself, even though he doesn't even introduction.
Thank you, Rafa. So my name is Rabi, and I am one of the CPSolvers team members, beaming in pride as to the accomplishments of the 3 women who you just heard about today, and also really excited to learn from Dr. Mahesh today. I think he has so much wisdom to offer. We have a little bit of a narrative of his story that I got on Twitter, so I'm really excited to learn more from him and to hang out and enjoy a wonderful Saturday with you all.
Thank you. So Dr. Mahesh graduated from Gandhi Medical College in India. He then pursued internal medicine residency at the Butterworth Hospital in Michigan, and he has experience both in traditional inpatients and outpatient internal medicine practice, and is a member of the American College of Physicians, Society of Medicine, and Society to Improve Medical Diagnosis in Medicine. He currently works as an associate professor of internal medicine at Ohio University Heritage College of Medicine and has received several outstanding primary care physician awards. So thank you, Dr. Mahesh, for coming and being interviewed by us.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor or privilege to be here and meeting you all for doing such an amazing work for medical education and supporting each other. It's a CP family. It's a big family. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Now the first question, could you please ask Val?
Yes, of course. So starting things off, we wanted to know, why did you decide to pursue training in the United States?
I was actually just because all my seniors did. And so I just followed my seniors. That's really the reason, one of the reasons. And the second reason is residencies in India are based on basically caste system. Actually, how you get to a residency is based on what caste you are. So my chance of getting a residency in India very small, meaning I compete only for 20% to 30%. That's it. So just to give an example, out of 15 to 20,000 students, I ranked 100, but I can't even get what I want. That's how difficult it is to get. It was kind of frustrating that merit does not matter. And the other reason is, I've heard wonderful things about the training, and we get a lot of clinical training, but the real medicine I thought I should pursue further in the United States. And that's the reason why I thought I should have the training here.
Oh, incredible. And now moving on about these, like, I'm sure that you had many obstacles and struggles in your journey until being able to match. And I would love if you could please go over a little bit about them.
It started with, the obstacle was right from the cost of applications or to apply the USMLE. I come from a very, a medium class family. So to have my parents' support for those days was $400 for step one and $400 for step two. So to have that much money was very difficult. So cost was a big barrier. And the second thing was, I had to go to another country to give an exam. So it was not available in India. So I had to go to Singapore to apply for this exam. And the third thing is, I had to do well on my exam. Fourth was, if I do well on the exams, will I get a visa to come to the United States? So there were so many ifs and buts. Will I be able to do all of that? And lastly, to give step one and step two within 2-week time. I'm sure, I don't know how it's in other countries, because I'm kind of forced to give the two exams at the same time. I didn't have the luxury of going twice and spending money in another country. So it's kind of very challenging to do that. And I think that was the biggest obstacle that time. And also the visas, they were not giving visas. If you're a doctor, it's automatic rejection, period. So basically I had to wait for 1 or 2 years to know that, okay, the visas are a little bit better. And so I did teach at a medical school, anatomy, for 2 years just to while my time after my medical school, actually. Then I came on a visitor's visa with $1,000 and a suitcase to live on for 6 months. That was the biggest challenge, not knowing what I'm going to be, where am I going to be staying, what am I going to do. Those days, it was all about trusting your friends, and they're trying to guide you. Actually, they are the ones who applied. Some of my friends came earlier, so they applied for me. I didn't know where to apply, what to do. There was no internet. There was no clinical problem solvers, so anybody to connect. So everything is, you basically rely on friends. And that's how it happened. The only at that time, my goal was to get into a residency. I didn't care where I got into residency. I just wanted to get my residency and get into a visa. And there are two kinds of visas, J1 and H1. And I was trying to get into H1 visa, but I didn't have a choice. And I did not go through the match, actually. There was a program in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's where I did my residency. It used to be called Butterworth Hospital. I really loved the program. They treated me with so much of kindness and respect. And I said, I don't care about the rest of the programs. I called them and I said, hey, you're going to take me? I will sign. And I did. Lastly, I didn't have a driving license. I never knew how to drive. So it was quite challenging. So I used Greyhound buses and Amtrak trains to travel in the United States, attending all my the interviews. So not knowing many of these things was quite challenging, actually. How to attend an interview? How do we do? What do we dress? I never wore a jacket in my life. This is like the basic cultural aspects of that, or somebody told me, I always, in India, everybody has a mustache. That's just normal thing. One of my friends said, hey, you can't have a mustache in the United States. I don't know why he said that. So I had to shave my mustache to attend an interview. It's just like, so since then, I never had a mustache in the United States. So these are the little things which are been my really challenges of getting through here. And finally, I got my J1 visa, and it was delayed by a couple of weeks when I started my residency. And of course, I didn't have money to pay the rent, and I was staying in the housing provided by the hospital, but the hospital was very, very kind enough to say that don't worry about it. And so the kindness which the people showed, the hospital, the residency, was amazing, that I was able to get through all of that. And I don't know, I just believe in divine, and I just closed my eyes and took the leap of faith and came over here.
Oh, I think what you just said actually echoed in everyone's mind here who is in IMG, because these struggles are basically the same. What I got from your answer, basically finance, and it's actually harder for us in a sense that the CFMG charges us even more, like $200 extra for us to do the steps. So it's another extra barrier. And also the visas. Right now with the pandemic, a lot of the consulates, they were closed. Now they're opening up, but the queue to get a visa is huge right now. And when it comes to support, thank God now with internet and social media and with the clinical problem solvers, for example, we have much more tools. And I just wanna do a shout out to Dr. Ravi and Dr. Elise. Both came here, both are associate program directors and IMGs, and they talked about their journey and the whole match process. So if anyone here who's an IMG and is interested to listen to this, please go check the episodes. And we're trying to provide more options as well to the IMGs here, so they free options, so they can have much easier path to the essay if they want to that. So thank you for your answer. Could you please go next, Lauren?
Yes, I just want to say that the cultural differences, the mustache thing, this is so curious. Like, why couldn't you have a mustache? This is, and you still don't wear a mustache nowadays. So this is really curious. And what would you say, moving on, I'm sorry, what would you say were the biggest challenges that you had to overcome during residency? So after all of that.
The biggest challenge was the culture. I'm in a new culture, new country, new food. I don't eat any meat. It was very challenging to find food during the initial time. And fortunately, the residency place, the food was free. So I didn't have to do anything. And the last I didn't have a car or a driver's license for the first 6 months. And so how do you drive to a rotation? It was for the first 4 months, I was fortunate to have rotations in the hospital across the street, so it was fine. But 1 month on a neurology rotation, which was about 20 minutes walking, so I used to walk to the clinics and come back. And one of the attendings came to know, they were very, very, very kind, and they used to send me at the end of the day to do the consults and not expect me to be back at the clinic. So somehow those were the real challenges. And my senior residents, and some of them were also IMGs, they knew what they went through, and they were amazing how they helpful. And I always remember them, and I learned, I went through this, I don't want anybody else to go through that, and I'm going to do everything possible to help, because it's because there are many things which we do because we don't know, like asking question is culturally not, I'm not familiar. In India, you don't ask questions. You never ask a question to an attending. That's just the norm. You never sit in front of an attending. That's just a norm. So those are different here. Culturally, they're different. So as a senior, as you become seniors, you just help the future IMG. So that's because of them I survived. And okay, so it's like, okay, this is the attending. You have to be really careful about how you answer, what you do. So they really guided me. That's the only way I could survive. And my colleagues used to take me to a grocery store. So that's how I managed. And the first 1 month, the other challenge was my wife's visa was refused just because they could. And for 2 weeks, it was a struggle. Should I, if she was not given, I would have to go back and leave everything. And fortunately, after 2 weeks, they reissued a visa. Why did they do that? We still don't know. So they can. So these are the other challenges. Lastly, we had a child during our residency, and no family around, daycare. It was quite challenging. My wife was also as a physician, and she started a residency, and after 6 months, she had to quit. Childcare. My kid used to get sick every 2-3 days. So we didn't have a choice, nowhere to go, nobody to take care of our child. So, well, basically, we had to make the toughest choice of giving up the residency for 5 years. She just was at home. We had another child, and she later got her residency back. And it is very, very, very difficult to get a residency if you quit residency and then go back. And again, fortunate to have done that, and then she finished her residency. So these are the real challenges. And lastly, I always wanted to do a gastroenterology fellowship, and I was fortunate to even match into a gastroenterology fellowship, but my visa was stuck, J1 visa. So I had to make this because if I do a fellowship, it was literally impossible to get a job at that time. So I had to give up my fellowship and join a primary care job. And I still don't know what I would have done different, but it was quite hard that my dream of becoming a gastroenterologist versus, so I had to do that. I think those are the tough decisions one has to make being an IMG. You might have a dream, but you might have to choose what works best for you and your family.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry for everything that happened. Like your wife having to give up on residency and you having to give up on your dream of becoming a gastroenterologist. I guess those were such hard choices to make. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that your program was so supportive. And I hope that everyone has the same luck here. Could you please go next, Val?
Yes, I just want to echo the message that you're bringing. I feel so inspired because I feel like you remember so many acts of kindness that have touched you and impacted you through your life, and just how when you're in the position you're right now, how by being in this conference with us, you're kind of just replicating the act of kindness that was given to you once by advice, by financial support or housing, and how we need to continue even when we achieve our goals or dreams to just replicate and bring someone with us that has the same background. So thank you for that. It's really inspiring. And I feel like you have already touched a bit about what were the challenges that you faced post residency, but maybe could you elaborate a little bit more about after residency, what were like your biggest challenges?
I thought once I finished my residency, my obstacles are going to be less. But actually, the 7 years after my residency was the most difficult time of my life, because you are on a J1 visa. So you go to underserved area, which was, I worked in Athens, Ohio, which is south of Columbus. It's a small area. So what you do is, you're employed by a physician. As per J1 rules, you're supposed to do 40 hours of outpatient, period. Inpatient is not counted. Nothing else is counted. The law requires that you do 40 hours of outpatient, and every 6 months to 8 months, immigration services will send you a letter saying that, okay, hey, are you still working? And your employer has to sign saying that, okay, yes, he's still working. So the challenges were, first, I worked not only outpatient, I was required to do inpatient, ICU, another town about 25 miles from here, nursing home, some home calls. So I used to work 60, 80 hours per week of no choice. There's nothing I could do about that. And also, whenever I used to have, when my employer had to sign this application, he used to say, okay, I'm not going to sign unless you do this extra work. So you are in a spot because there's nothing you can do. If you don't get the sign, the immigration will say you leave the country, and you are stuck. There is nothing you can do about that. You can fight with the attorneys and you can go to the immigration. There's nothing. It's a case of lost case. So you just go through your life through that. But I think there's always a saving grace, and my family supported. My wife was at home, so I didn't have to worry about my kids. I missed most of my kids growing up because I was always at the hospital. Athens is a small town. My patients were amazing. My nurses, the staff at the hospital, they were so kind. I can't tell you how kind they were. Just to give an example, my daughter was one time sick. At that time, my wife was doing a residency in another town, and I had to work, and I took my daughter to the hospital. And they saw that my daughter was sick, and they said, okay, don't worry about it. You go to work. We're going to take care of her. And they put her in a bed in the ICU. This would never happen now in any hospital in the country, but it did happen for me. She was there from morning 8 till evening 5. They fed her, they took care of her, they gave her Tylenol. And when I came back to pick her up at 5 o'clock, my daughter didn't want to leave. She was 4 years old. And so the strength I got was from the people around me. And that's the only way I could get through all of that. And after 7 years, I got my green card or permanent residency. So I changed my job. At the end, when you leave the job, there's a malpractice insurance you have to pay. Since my employer said I'm not going to pay, so I had to bring another $40,000, which I had to come out. And so those were all the challenges. So I always advise, if anybody has a J1, you're working for a job, hopefully do your research, make sure you work for an institute rather than an individual, because an individual pretty much can do anything they want, and pay, not pay, you can go off the contract, they can do whatever they want. there's nothing anybody can do about it. But in an institute is very unlikely to do any of that kind of stuff. They would follow the rules. So, I know after I was done after that 7 years, that employer filed for bankruptcy and left the town, and I'm still here after these many years. It's been 24 years, and the kindness of the people, and so I still love this place. And so you get your strength from wherever you can, and the kindness follows you.
This is so true. Like, there's a phrase in English that I think pretty much sums up your answer, that it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
And so thank you for always acknowledging all the support that you got. May we always have this state of mind, like acknowledging all the kindness and all the support that we received in our lives, so we can do the same for other people as well. So maybe now you can talk a little bit about the other question, which is, from your experiences, what were the major differences that you found in patient care in India versus the USA?
You know, in India, the sheer volume of the number of the patients we used to see, you know, like an outpatient clinic is like, you know, in a 4-hour period, 100 patients, and the pathology and you know, the quick turnover was, and so I basically worked in a government hospital, so mainly for uninsured people who were poor and could not afford. So those are the patient population who used to come and see. The cost was a big barrier. So so you depended on your clinical skills, history taking, because the testing was not available, CAT scans were not available. So you pretty much develop your own thing and do the best you can, whatever little resources you have. You know, I think maybe it made me more empathetic, and the kindness, you kind of get that, where you feel like, okay, I'm doing my best. I can, given that situation, and you feel for the patient, because they're not getting an antibiotic because I can't provide in this hospital, and neither they don't have the money to have it, and you know, so that was a big barrier. Or you know, this other thing was, we had an ICU, but there was no ventilator, no working ventilator. We had a ventilator, but it was not a working ventilator. So I saw patients die, which would have never happened here. And it was quite challenging. We had amazing attendings, clinicians who were so good in their clinical skills. So got to learn with the best of the best in regards to the clinical examination and history taking skills. Coming back here in the United States, everything is structured, protocol driven. You know, you're an active learner. You're expected to ask questions. Nobody will tell you, okay, why did you ask this question? I always got into trouble with my program director. She always used to tell me, it's like, why are you not asking questions? It's like, okay, I have to keep reminding myself, okay, I'm supposed to ask a question. So, you know, that was a little bit of transition for me. I would have never agreed for an interview if it was 20 years before, because I would have been afraid to talk with anybody. That was the mindset when I first came to this country. And the other thing is, the management in here is really up to date, in the sense of, like, if this requires a CAT scan is done here. You know, in India, like, no, yes, CAT scan is required, but you don't have the means of getting a CAT scan. You just, based on your clinical skills, and you just do the right thing. Now things have changed a lot. I'm sure everything is done there now. I'm talking about, I moved to the United States in 1995. So things are very, very different now. So I feel I'm fortunate to have the best of the two worlds, to have the clinical training when I trained there, and got the fine version of the residency training here. And I can't ask for a better training than here.
Yes, I think the cultural differences can be really striking, especially in the beginning. So thank you for your honesty. Please go next, Laura.
Um, I would love to ask, what do you miss the most from India? I would guess that is the food because you said you don't eat meat, and it's really hard to find like food that you love there. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, you can get anything you want here. Now things have changed for good, so you can have anything in United States now. But I think I miss my family and friends the most. I know I always remember my grandmother, who's no more. She always used to say one thing. I'm the first person to be a doctor in my family, and whenever I used to go back, she always used to remind me, when are you going to come back? When are you going to come back for good? And one day she said, you take care of everyone except us. It still resonates. I'm always, it brings tears in my eyes because I'm not there with my family. I'm taking care of everyone except my family. So I still ask my question, where do I belong? Do I belong here? Do I belong to India? I still don't have an answer. Tomorrow will be my 26th year, so half my life I've been here and half my life I've been in the United States. Where do I belong? I don't know the answer. So I hope one day I can say that I can be at peace. I'm not at peace because my family is there. I'm here. I'm stuck in between these two worlds. And that is the most challenging. I never thought about all this when I first applied for the United States and came here excited. I have everything except my family, which means everything to me.
I want to say that it resonates so much because I am a family person. Like my family is everything to me, and think the only thing that makes me think like, do I want to leave the country is my family, because it's a choice. Like you have to make a choice, and I think you'll never know if it's the right choice. And I think maybe you belong both places if that's possible. And yeah, life's hard. But I think you're doing a great job taking care of people there, and your family's happy for you. And you visited them like a few weeks ago, I don't know, a few days ago. So trying to balance between professional life and family, it's really hard for every IMG, I guess.
It's so true. I think we all struggle, and I don't think so there's a right or wrong answer. You do what's best, and if tomorrow a day comes where I am needed for my family, yes, I will drop everything and be there for them, and that's what I'm going to do. We have to do. I'll do what my responsibilities are.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh, for that, for sharing this with us. It was it really touched me, and I really related to it. And I wanted to ask you, because even though you are bringing or sharing with us some personal information, you are quite a very important person in the primary care world, and you have actually received 4 outstanding primary care physician awards thus far. And so what makes primary care special for you? If you could elaborate on that.
Just the definition of primary care, right? It's the most important and really a challenging field, I would say. And being practicing for 24 years, you get to know a patient so much. They become your family and friends. I come from a small town, so you get to know them so well. So in fact, my first 5 minutes of my patient interaction, we just talk about our families, we talk about how life is, we talk about politics, we talk about everything. And you know uh, I love going to my job every day. You know, it's more than work for me. And they are, as a primary care physician, I feel privileged to take care of a person. They are putting their whole life, you know, their health in your hands, and they're telling you, okay, you take care of this. And at this one place, I feel like I'm fearful. Okay, am I doing my best for them or not? Or am I doing so? I'm keeping up to date. I'm doing this, doing that. And also the trust they have, the relationships and you develop over the years, it's a special. And like a patient calls me and say, hey, I'm seeing my oncologist. This is the chemo he's telling me to take. What do you think? It's like, to be honest with you, the answer is I don't have any idea what chemo this is or what they want to do, but our opinion counts, or my opinion counts, or I'm going to have a stent. They even call me for that. Should I have a stent for this? I'm having an acute MI. So these are the conversations, you know, having. And they always ask, if I'm looking tired, are you okay? You know, these are the special bonds we develop over the years. And I can't ask for anything better. And also it is so challenging to take care of every aspect. We need to know so much, the depth of primary care. If you really want to be a good primary care, again, my goal is for them to be taken care of so well that hopefully I'm able to prevent everything. I'm able to prevent from them going to the ER. So I think that's the challenging part. In my practice, although I stopped after 18 years going, there's no way you can continue doing both of them. My clinic is next to the hospital. So when they're admitted, I still go and stop in and just say hello to them. I just say, how are you doing? And it's always a special that it feels nice for them. They just feel that, okay, I'm still a part of the care. So that's why I feel it gives me happiness that I'm able to take care of them and having these relationships with a patient for forever, for lifelong.
It's so beautiful. I really enjoy the part that you shared about the special bond that you have with your patients. We also strive to have that with our own patients in the future. So moving on, I would like to, if you could talk a little bit about your current project. If there is any project that you have now that you feel proud of, please go ahead.
To be honest with you, that's one simple answer. I don't have any projects. So my only project right now is, you know, nobody taught me how to think. So in the last 3, 4, 5 years, my project right now is how to be a better teacher myself and how do I make myself better. And I always believe to be a lifelong learner. And last year I attended a faculty development through SIDM. So when I attend this clinical problem solvers, I'm doing this. So my project is to make myself better. That's the first thing. So I always have a plan of 3 stages of my life. One is work. Second thing is medical education. So last year I joined as a faculty at osteopathic medical school in teaching. So hopefully I'll do it for the next few years, and my last half of my journey is volunteer medicine. So that's I hope I have the energy to do that. So this is what I'm planning. The next stage would be medical education and just be a volunteer physician anywhere, wherever. I did volunteer for a couple of weeks in El Salvador a few years ago. It's fulfilling to do that. So those would be my projects, you know, moving on, and I want to do that.
It is a great project. Medical education is amazing. So moving on, and which pieces of advice would you give to IMGs that want to come to the US?
Well, first, I think the most important advice I would give is, you know, I think if anybody wants to do the best training, you should come to the United States. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if possible, if you can do a clerkships in the US, know the system would be always very, very helpful. Third thing is, join the community of clinical problem solvers. I think would be a great place to start. Just another thing, I teach medical students, and all the medical students who rotate with me, the first day I give them $15 and buy them the app. That's just my gift for them. For every medical student, I've been doing that. I think those are the things, because knowing the system is important, and also connecting with your future, the residents, like, or friends who have been here, just to know like which residency, like for example, how did my wife get into it? Because my wife, when she applied after 5 years break, every place rejected her application, just seeing that, okay, she had a gap of 5 years, nobody wanted to give her. It so happened one of my students happened to be in a residency program. I reached out for her and said, it's like, okay, this is the situation. All she did was told her program director, it's like, okay, I know this guy and his wife. That's all she did. And they sent her an interview letter, and my wife aced the interview. So just knowing somebody, they always, all she did had to do well her interview, all that. So I think it's important to have these connections of some place to get in, and those are the few things I would advise you. And also leap of faith. Not everything is going to be perfect. Do your best. Coming over here, and I think, Lara, I mentioned before that what would I have done before, all this complicated things about family or what. No, I think I would have still done the same thing. I would have still come here. I would have still done the training. Nothing would have changed. It's hindsight. You think about all these things because it's all worth it. I think coming to this country, I always feel it made me a better person. It made me more kind, people here are more giving. That's just my personal bias, my personal opinion. That's the America I know of.
Thank you. I feel like I can speak for everyone that we are left this conference just really inspired by your words and your journey. We have gone through your life applying as an IMG up to after residency, and what were the challenges you faced. And I feel like the way that you speak really shares a passion for medicine and your craft, and it really, really inspires me, and I'm sure everyone on the call. I wanted to end the questions that we have for you today with kind of a reflection, and just wanted to ask you, looking back, what advice would you give to your younger self if you could?
The one thing maybe I would have done is I could have done the gastroenterology fellowship. If I had to change something, I would have taken that risk. Not for anything. I had that opportunity, and I just, because of fear of going back, or fear of, I had wife and child, and I was worried what's going to happen. This uncertainty of, always hindsight is 2020. But also I learned a lesson saying that no matter what it is, I might have dreamt, but we need to enjoy what we do. Although I might not have been a gastroenterologist, but I love what I do. It's not by force, it's by choice. And that's the lesson I learned. And one thing I have to tell you is, any of you, I think this big family of IMG, if anybody needs a boarding and lodging 1 month before your residencies or anything, my home is welcome and it's free. And I live in Athens, and I mean it wholeheartedly. And my wife also, I have 2 daughters. I never told you, one of my daughters is a 3rd-year medical school, and my other daughter is doing a business school in Vancouver, Canada. That's where she goes to school. So we have a big house, 2 of us. My wife is also a physician. So if anybody wants a free boarding and lodging until you get into a place to live, don't want to spend money, it's on our home. So that's what I would like to say.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh, for this interview. This was the last question. So maybe, Rabi, do you want to say something before we finish?
I don't know. How do you take the mic and reflect after somebody offers you their home and their guidance um, and their love? Really, I think I'm sitting here and I'm just in awe of what happens to people when they go through tremendous adversity. And I think that I'm just in awe of the growth and the generosity of spirit and just the sheer purity of the wisdom we all got to hear today. And I think so much of it is so practically helpful in that a lot of people here are hoping to walk the same road. And if nothing else, just the fact that that experience is validated to be hard, but ends the way um, it is now, and somebody who is both successful in all objective measures as a physician, but also successful as a human being who we'd all want to be. And so I don't have anything to say but to show you, um, to re-emphasize and underscore that if any one of us can become like Dr. Raju here today, I think we'd all be elated and very happy. And to know that that is intimately related to the adversities that you went through and navigated and learned from and grew makes it so much less painful to know that the product of being compressed and squeezed and stressed actually is a diamond. And I think, yeah, I'm in awe, I'm humbled. And I feel like the CPSolvers owes you $15 times all the students that you have mentored and much more. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I can thank you all for all the hard work you do and make medicine fun. I wish I can be a medical student back again, and I want the time back. I really mean it. You guys make medicine more fun.
So before finishing, Dr. Mahesh, on the behalf of the CPSolvers, I just wanted to thank you for coming. What I see here is a man, a citizen of the world, and also a man who loves his family and so kind. And I just want to thank you and tell you that you inspired me, and I'm sure inspired many. Thank you.
Thank you all.